What is that? Is that a bird? Is that a plane? No, it's actually a super bullish setup coming and forming on the Jasmy token and Jasmy chart. Obviously, corny intro aside, I did want to talk about Jasmy today because we are seeing something really interesting going on the chart. Something that we've seen happen multiple times over the past, I think 15 to 18 months. We'll look at the chart here in a little bit more detail. I did just take a quick look at it before we started filming just so we could kind of go over and come up with a plan of kind of how we're going to go through this. But ultimately, what we've seen is that we've seen this happen multiple times in the past, and typically this has been the indicator that we have hit a bottom. Again, I cannot guarantee this. This is crypto. Anything can happen. This is not financial advice. I do not have a crystal ball, all of that type of good stuff. But what we have seen historically is that this is generally a very, very strong time to buy in terms of risk versus reward. So we're going to talk about that as well. Before we do that, we are going to jump into crypto bubbles. We can see the market having a pretty rough day overall. We can see SUI over here up about 4.3%, and Crow is hiding behind my picture a little bit, up about 1.8%. We've got a couple tiny ones here and there, but overall, pretty much a wholesale red day on the market. I think this is kind of a sell-off running into the crypto summit that we are seeing here. And several hours from now, not super immediately, but I think there might be a little bit of a sell-off going into that, kind of as I expected. I mean, we talked a little bit about this yesterday. Maybe we see a little bit of a pump tomorrow, but I think the pump that we saw yesterday was kind of more of a kind of priming people to see something like this, right? Get people liquidated, get people excited, drop some of that liquidation volume and all that type of stuff. Again, that's my cynical view on the world. Maybe I'm wrong, but what we can see here, Jasmy down 6.8% on the day. If I had to call this, I would call this about average. We can see obviously, some things down a little bit less, but also there's some things down a lot more. So I would say, Jasmy being down about 6.8 feels close to average from what we're seeing out of the rest of the market. Now, moving on and taking a look at the chart here on BTCC, we can see a couple of things, and this is what I want to talk about specifically today. So this is the daily chart. As you can see, we're way zoomed out. The beginning here, we're actually looking back to the beginning of 2024, a little bit over a year ago is kind of where this point would start. What we can see, so I'm going to zoom in and we're going to kind of scroll across this timeline a little bit. Let me pull the RSI down a bit. Okay, so let's look at what we got here. So we've got this line. Again, this is a horizontal line. We can see resistance, resistance, support, 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 support. Okay, we bounce up. We go on a little bit of a run. We come back, support, 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 support. We go on a run. We kind of come back, we're falling down. Okay, and we're back. Support, support, support. So hopefully you can see what we've seen in the past is every time we've come down to this level, 1.6 cents range, we saw this come up, hit a price of 4.4 cents, over a 2x pump, come back all the way down to this 1.6 cent range, come back, do a pump all the way up close to 6 cents, so a 4x pump. So, I mean, we're seeing some really, really crazy moves when we come down and find support on this level. Again, is this time going to be different? I don't know for sure, but this to me seems to be a very, very high or low risk, high reward type of play. I'm actually going to take a trade on stream or on record or whatever I'm doing here, so we can see kind of how I'm looking at this. I'm probably seeing, if we pull something about 1.46 cents range, we can see that this is probably comfortably below a lot of the wicks that we have seen in the past. We do kind of run that little bit of a risk because we have seen some action about this. If we want to go super safe, probably about the 1.1 cent range, I think makes probably more sense than anything else. But if we want to go risky, we'll do about the 1.4 cent range. Since I am doing this on video and I want people to feel like I'm not being too risky or anything like that, I think I'm going to go for the safer play. Again, as I mentioned, if you want to go a little bit more risky and take a little bit higher leverage trade, you can, and you can kind of come up closer to this, but I will just take a little bit of a lower leverage trade here just so we're not getting too carried away. So we're going to go about the 1.17 cent range. So I'm going to take a quick guess. It's probably going to be somewhere around 4x if I had to guess. We'll see. We'll do about let's see what our liquidation would be here. We'll have to open actually to see. We can see $41 in margin, so we'll actually pull this up. We'll get the contract value up a little bit. You can see about $400 needed to trade on 1600. Let's open the long. I actually think since we're trading, so this is cross, the odds of liquidation here are going to be astronomically low. So we can see it's now open here. And we can see estimated liquidation price is actually not possible because I am trading on a very, very, very large balance here. If it is higher risk, it will tell you, and it will actually give you a liquidation price. So if we were to go up and trade, 10 million Jasmy or something, it's a very, very large amount. It would give us a liquidation price at what point it would be liquidated. It also would do that when you actually go to open your position as well. So something you can think about there. But what we can see is, now we have this trade taken, and we'll just kind of see how it goes. Now, going kind of back to the chart, we can see if we follow this trend line, this is a kind of a loose trend line of what we've seen. Obviously, we come back and we kind of pump a little bit higher each time. So if we are to see something similar, we could see probably hitting back in like the 7.2 to 7.5. Maybe if we even overachieve, like we saw a little bit out of this one, maybe we even get up to that fabled 8-cent range. I think that's very, very possible. Or also maybe we underperform a little bit like this one did, and maybe we kind of stay back at this maybe 6-cent range. So potentially a really, really good swing trade coming in here for Jasmy. So just kind of check that out, see what you guys think. Obviously, we do have that trade open here. You can see I actually did a video where I was talking about Pi. We had some Pi purchased here. I also did some with Ondo, and then I've got larger purchases of both Sui and Bitcoin. All of these very low leverage trades. So you can see them down a little bit just because we have had some struggles within the market, but they are still there. Also, we can see if you are interested in trading along and doing any of this type of stuff, you can see we do have that 10% bonus on first time deposits. So it's free money. I love free money. I'm sure you do as well. Also, extra trading bonuses of up to $10,055 per user, as well as no VPN or KYC necessary if that's something that you're interested in. So like I said, got the link in the description below. If you are interested, just feel free to check it out. Moving on though, I want to take one quick look here. We can see we got some more technical analysis coming in from Matthew Dixon here. Jasmy already has 5 tests of the long held support. We just went over this in the chart. You can see the dashed line forms a perfect risk reward barrier from which to take every low risk, potentially high reward trades. Whatever you think of Jasmy from a TA perspective, you don't get many better setups with bullish divergence thrown in. So we'll go check out what he's talking about with bullish divergence. I did not really talk about this too much going into because I know we're going to go over this, but you can see here the price staying about the same here because again we have that kind of horizontal line. But you can see if we're checking the prices here, RSI is actually lower kind of from one point to the next. So that is kind of what we're seeing from bullish divergence. Also, we can see here as the price goes up as well. And this is where essentially he's kind of saying that long position is trade. He's doing the 0.15 or 1.526 range. I went even a little bit below that to I think the 1.477. If we go for the risky route and if we go for the super conservative route, then we go back down to about the 1.17 cent range. And then obviously we've got the dotted line up here close to that 6-cent range where we did see the swing high back in December. So I think this is a really, really good setup. Hopefully you can see pretty clearly kind of what we're looking at here. Again, if we go back, we can see the RSI down pretty bad. Actually, we'll pull this into full screen so you can see even better. The RSI definitely down a little bit bad here. We actually can see RSI getting way up in the 90s back when we were here in December. This obviously being a pretty clear sign to sell. Same thing, clear sign to sell here, clear sign to sell there. So we have seen, the RSI does kind of tell us when it's probably a good time to sell. Then it also does tell us when it's usually a good time to buy. As we've kind of bounced off of these ranges, it's kind of in this lower range. We can see the same type of thing happening from what we've seen here in the past. So this is looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with kind of what we're seeing here. I do think that this could be a really, really lucrative setup. And again, as I mentioned, if I was wanting to be a little bit risky and pull it a little bit closer up to this support, because we basically are. Let's actually go back and we'll zoom really, really close in now that we were far out. We'll zoom very, very close in. We can see, we are razor thin to that level of support here. We are basically sitting directly on the support. So any level of again, if we want to kind of take the trade here at this 1.49 range, there's not much further to fall that kind of invalidates this trade. And then obviously, if we hold the support like we have the past several times over the past little while, then obviously, we're going to be basically catching almost the perfect bottom here, which would be super cool. So anyway, but one thing that I did want to mention here is you just have to be careful. There are rogue wicks that can happen. Be very conscientious of the fact that there are rogue wicks that can happen. And so just don't, maybe trading super tight up on this leverage. If you're doing cross cross collateral leverage trading, then you can find some, or you can withstand some rogue wicks there. But if you are doing isolated will liquidate you for that type of thing. But cross is also very, very risky, so you need to know what you're doing if you are going to do cross margin trading. I would say that is not for the beginner. That is only for the intermediate or advanced trader, probably even only the advanced trader. So just something to think about there. Hopefully you did find the information in this video useful. I think that this is a really, really good setup for what we're seeing on Jasmy. Hopefully you see the same. If you agree, great, leave me a comment. If you disagree, great, leave me a comment. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts about what's going on within kind of the Jasmy world, the Jasmy ecosystem, all that type of stuff. I do think they're a little slow to the news game, but I do think from a technical perspective, we're seeing some really, really compelling setups showing up here. So we'll see. We'll kind of see how it goes. All of that type of good stuff. But if you did find the information in this video useful, please just do give me a like and a subscribe. It really, really does help me out. It helps me continue to grow the channel, all that type of good stuff. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.